The crypto market's turning around based on some optimism. I'm going to share that optimism with you along with some price action because XRP and our faves are starting to move. David's got a warning for XRP fans that you need to see. Pumpia says XRP's going to hit $50 because of ETFs. But how are we going to get ETFs in October if we're not going to get regs until November or December?
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
All aboard the chicken bus and happy Sunday. Where is this chicken bus taking us? It's taking us to the green that's up on the screen. Now, why are we green? Well, Jerome may have overcooked the turkey, but overcooking the turkey means he may have to cut rates faster than even he wants to. Whoa, 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 what's going on, crypto fans? Happy Sunday to you all. Now, you know the deal. We got crypto news, we got price talk, and we have your comments. I bring your comments at the beginning of every video because you are the viewer and you matter most. Think about it. Without you, what would I be doing? I'd be talking to my camera. My dogs think I'd be crazy. Well, they think I'm crazy. And speaking of dogs, Mantwerk dropping some support on the channel, dropping some euros for us, saying, yo, bro, here's some support for doggy treats. My doggies greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mantwerp. James Greaves says, Baines. Harold Baines, that is. That's a dope one for sure. Yeah, I got a Baines auto rookie card behind me. A PSA 10-10, 10 card, 10 auto. Just sent my Griffey Jr. Bowman Tiffany. Ooh, rookie offer regrading. Oh. Ooh, hopefully you're going with PSA, my guy, because that's where all the value's at. Carmen Zivanovic says, ooh, and I hope I said that right, my gal says, no late night dessert tokenized. No way, my gal. We want them cows, don't we? Thank you, Klaus, for your update. Have a great weekend. Yeah, tokenization in crypto has its place. But we don't want to tokenize everything. And for real, I don't want to tokenize my Pokemon cards. I don't want to tokenize my baseball cards. And I don't want to tokenize my beautiful single stack 45 that I've got in this case right here that sits by my side. Why? Because you got to keep your heater by your side. And when you have your heater by your side, you have to keep extended single stack mags with you. Yeah, it's a 45. Just throwing it out there. You do. You got to keep your heater with you. Bitcoin, 111,000. ETH, 4,300. XRP, 288. So why are we in the green? Well, everyone, it's because Jerome may have overcooked the turkey. What does that essentially mean? He left rates too high for too long. And what happens is things are too expensive. And I'm not talking about like food and groceries and cars and bills. I'm talking about like for businesses. I mean, don't get me wrong. That other shit's expensive too. But for businesses, stuff's expensive. So when stuff is expensive for businesses, what's the first thing that companies do when they need to save money? They let people go or they stop hiring, right? So what happened was this. We had a very weak jobs report. Yeah, listen to this. In August, the labor's market decline was evident. Only 22,000 jobs were created instead of the expected 75. So again, remember, these markets are based on what? Expectation versus reality. So if the market was expecting the creation of 75,000 new jobs and we only got 22,000 new jobs, that's less than a third. That's bad. So essentially, we've got weak jobs. So what happens is rates are so high for so long that companies are like, oh man, we got to start cutting our costs. So they do it with labor first because that's the easiest controllable thing. So they stopped hiring. Well, they stopped hiring because rates are so freaking high. Well, who's in charge of high rates? The Federal Reserve, all right? To make things worse, July figures were revised, that's the month before, to reflect a net decrease in work. The unemployment rate reached 4.3, its highest point since October of 2021, indicating an apparent chill in hiring. So yes, employers now are starting to tighten up their purse strings. Oh, someone left the turkey in the oven a little long, and basting it and putting butter on the top ain't gonna help. And tokenizing jobs sure as fuck ain't gonna help that at all either. Bank of America has revised its forecast to capture these changes and is now projecting 2 reductions in 2025. Basically saying, hey, look, we have to now get 2 rate cuts to make up for the fact that Jerome left shit too tight for too long. economic conditions are not conducive for business growth. The former is likely to happen in September. They're basically, Bank of America is saying you're getting one cut now in September and another one in December, which means Santa Claus is not only going to be coming to town, he's going to be coming to your house, and he's going to be coming with rate cuts. Basically, I'm going to be coming a lot. All right? So, what's going on? Fed meeting. Oh, okay. Fed meeting is happening when, everyone? Yeah, September 17th. This is with economic projections. So we're getting a huge expectation right there, everyone, that we're going to get a cut. Now, here's the wild thing. You're starting to get players out there get expectations of a 50 basis point cut. Now, I don't think we're going to get that, and I still seriously think that we might even have Jerome Powell pause. The only thing that would keep Jerome Powell from not cutting would be a hot CPI report, something nasty. Remember, CPI was at 2.7 the previous report. We get something like that, Jerome's going to be like, look, tariffs, inflation, we can't cut just yet. He would hold off till October. CPI data comes out on September 11th. That's 4 days away from today. With, remember, the FOMC meeting coming up when? On the 17th, 10 days away. So now you've got a weak jobs report, which is not good for us as people, right? For as people, that sucks because we need jobs, we need money to pay for things. But for the crypto market, a weak jobs report means that Jerome Powell might be forced to cut rates. So cutting rates means risk assets like crypto could actually start moving. Why? Because lower rates means less risk. See, crypto is risky. And rates lower means it costs you less money to invest in crypto. So if you're building in crypto, if you're building in a business, if you're doing anything and rates come down, well, now you're paying less. So with crypto being risky, wouldn't you want to have less money? Like, okay, if you were going to build in crypto, would you want a loan that costs you 15% to build in crypto? Or would you want a loan that costs you 10%? You'd want a loan that costs 10%. And that's what players are saying right now. They're going, whoa, whoa, whoa. The Fed might now have to cut 2 times, so we might be like overcooking a turkey, which means we might have more rate cuts coming. That's good for all of us. Ripple CTO warns of a deepfake scam using CEO Brad Garlinghouse to target XRP. Here's the whole thing, okay? Ripple's not giving anything away. There's no like super mega announcements where you win this if you add your name. It's nothing like that. But the problem we got though is these deepfakes are getting better and better and better. And the big issue we have is that there's a language barrier for a lot of people. So I know the majority of people watching right now, English is your first language, right? So you're not faked out by this stuff. But think of people that use translation services, right? You know, dubbing and so forth. So when they see Brad Garlinghouse's lips move and the words don't match, that doesn't matter to them because they're having translation services. So for them, AI doesn't mean shit. They just see Brad Garlinghouse, they see announcement, they think it's cool. The problem is these AI things are getting better, better, and better. According to a recent X post, Ripple CTO David Schwartz has raised an alarm over a deep fake scam targeting Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. The video falsely portrayed Garlinghouse outlining plans for XRP and attempting to deceive the community members into engaging in a fraudulent scheme. Schwartz replied with a GIF about a scam alert, sharing his warning to XRP holders to be wary. And again, like I said, most of you will not be caught by that, but I want to do my due diligence telling you, be careful of these scams. The worst part about it was as I was doing my research for this video, I was looking through some Twitter posts, I already found one of those scams. Yeah, what a freaking joke. Hey, wait a minute, here's one of them right here. Look, see, scan this to get an XRP reward. This is one of those AI deepfake rewards. So for you and I that speak English as our first language, we can see that the words don't match his mouth. That's obvious. But like for people, like I said, that are dubbing, they don't know that. They don't see that. They don't have that benefit. So be very cautious out there, everyone, because remember, as the crypto market heats up, as things start moving, as we get rate cuts, as we start talking about regaronis and so forth, you're going to be targeted. Why? Because there's money flowing. There's going to be scammers flowing. Expert says XRP to $50 by December 2025 is a matter of math plus market structure. Well, I'd like to know what kind of fucking retard core math you're using because for real, We're at $2 and like what, 88 cents right now, homeboy? 289, my bad. Let's learn. He pointed out at least 6 major issues have already submitted active S1 filings. That's awesome. Here's the problem though. This is all based on ETFs. ETFs are not going to pump XRP from $2.89 to 50. The other problem we got is a lot of these ETF deadlines are in October. Well, guess what? We just learned from Congress, they don't plan on having regs done until November or December. So how are you going to get ETFs on products that you don't have regs yet? You're not. You're simply not. And the government's not going to get stuff done sooner. So this whole decision is based on what? Hopium and smoking crack. Like we know that. Crack is wiggity wiggity whack. But the reality is you got people out there saying all sorts of stupid shit. So first things first, you got scam warnings with deep fake stuff. That's a problem in itself. Brad Garlinghouse video right here, right? We know what I'm talking about. Second problem is you got morons like this saying that, yeah, ETFs are going to totally moon things. ETFs are going to help, but they're not going to bring us to $50. And then to call people like this experts is a joke. Let's get into crypto reality, everyone. Overall right now, 56 out of 100 in the altcoin season index. I like it. Why? The alts are moving in the direction that we like. Volume for crypto, really shitty right now. $84 billion. The market is holding their breath waiting for CPI data. By the way, CPI data on September 11th, 8:30 a.m., we're going to be live streaming that. We're going to watch the crypto market react to it. We're going to be opening up the chat to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So no, $50, not going to happen in December. Why? ETFs aren't going to bring us that much money. They're just freaking not. And no, it's not going to turn into this, oh my gosh, God candle situation. We still got to deal with rate cuts. We still got to deal with regs if we get them. And let's be real here. The SEC can also choose to what? Decline all these ETFs. It doesn't mean that these ETFs get approved. They can always be declined. Now, that being said, let's go back to the market. Institutional outflows. We had them with BTC and ETH as of late. Let's swing it on over to XRP price where, yes, we're getting a little bit of a move on the way up. We saw it this morning. I like that. Again, we're talking about $50 XRP. Bro, we couldn't even hold 290. What are you talking about? Volume for XRP, really low relatively speaking as of late. 2.88 billion for volume in the last 24 hours. Now, this little move here, I like it. Zoom out a little bit and you're like, okay, this is the best we've seen in the last 7 days. Zoom out to the month and you're like, oh, it's not even a blip on the radar. Yeah, exactly. But we're coming up to a couple big macro events. But the big zoomed out picture is what, everyone? Jerome Powell overcooked the turkey. He might have to cut it twice this year. I doubt we'll get a 50 basis point right off the bat. I don't even know if we'll get a cut in the September meeting. I think CPI data is going to pull a shit ton of weight. The Fed always says they look at CPI data. And hey, if we get a second cut in December, that's freaking awesome. That could help us out. ETFs, it's possible that we could get those approved. Regs, November, December, it's possible. $50 XRP though, when we keep hearing about, oh, demand shock coming, institutional this and that. No, $50 is just insane. We got to get to $5 first. And then you have to 10x from $5. So you're almost talking about 20xing from where you're at right now. And guess what? Ain't no one in the crypto market right now looking at 20xing. Because if the job market is now soft, what does that mean? That means we have to worry about recessions. Which means what, everyone? Which means risky asset classes have to be careful as well. Which means the safe haven asset classes like gold and silver are what, everyone? Going to keep breaking all-time highs. So yes, soft jobs reports means we have a good chance of getting rate cuts, but it also means you and I as the consumer are effed. And if you and I as the consumer are effed, what does that mean? It means sooner or later we're going to slow down our spending. And if we sooner or later slow down our spending, what does that mean? That means businesses are going to get less revenues because we're not spending as much. So if businesses are getting less revenues, what are they going to do? They're going to cut more jobs, which means what? Unemployment's going to go up. And if unemployment goes up, that means what? The consumers hurt even more, which means we spend even less and, oh, we start talking recession. And how the hell are you going to have $50 XRP if we're worried about recessions? You could have all the ETFs in the world you want. You could have all the institutional juice you want. But if the institutions don't have money because people aren't spending money and the governments aren't spending money, because remember, the governments are all in debt too, everyone. The United States government does not want to do a crypto reserve where they're adding money to the debt. Well then, $50 XRP sure as shit ain't happening by December 2025. Klaus, in my best Mr. Garrison voice, retard alert class, retard alert class. But right now we're sitting at $2.90. It's not $3, but we're going to get there. One of our ways to get there, give us a good juicy CPI data of which we'll live stream, follow it up with less than a week later, a rate cut on the 17th of September. Sorry, my Mr. Garrison voice sucks. And I'll be honest with you, I love the optimism of $50 XRP, but we got to be realistic here. We got to target that $4 XRP price first. And yeah, I could see that as a realistic target with all the ETFs, regs, and so forth. Because the problem is this. If the job market is soft, and if retail is getting crushed by rates too high, look at the housing market. Housing market sucks too. Food is still expensive. Utilities are still expensive. Everything is freaking expensive. And now, if all of a sudden the job market is sucking balls, so people have no money to pay for the expensive stuff, well, we start talking about recession. And if we start talking about recession, and remember that a lot of governments out there have a shit ton of debt, we now have a problem in the retail sector. We have a problem in the, yes, commercial sector, because now these people aren't getting their revenue because people aren't spending. The governments are belly full with debt. So now institutions, commercials, and retail all have problems. Caterpillar said that their forecasts suck. The oil market sucks because no one thinks that's going to be growing. That sounds a lot like a setup for a recession. So if we're having a recession around the bend, how the fuck are we going to get to $50 XRP? Well, all aboard the chicken bus to crazy town, boys and girls, because that's what Pumpius says. Don't get me wrong. ETFs, regs, little bit of rate cut action, that can help us out. $5 XRP by the end of the year, optimistic. $4 attainable if we get all those three. But for real, $50? Crack is whack, my guy. And remember, if you're doing something fun, make sure you share with the rest of the class, because sharing is caring. So, we're going to find out soon enough what CPI data is. We ain't getting no 50 basis cuts. Maybe we get a 25. I don't know. I still think Jerome is going to be a stingy, hawkish piece of shit. I don't know. Market's starting to price in, though, at 25. You saw what happened. When Jerome was at Jackson Hole, the market shot up on his dovish comments. So we'll see if he delivers. Maybe we could get to 325 XRP for that. Either way, we still ain't at $5. So, like I said, crack is whack. Choo-choo what? All aboard the chicken bus and choo-choo bitches.